We're working on position previews heading into the spring for the Georgia Bulldogs. Obviously, spring practice coming really soon, pro day coming soon. A lot of action coming up in college football and for the Georgia Bulldogs. And just finished my offensive line preview. That's on dogpost.com. Make sure you're checking that out over on the website version. All right, if you follow us over there. And look, Georgia's offensive line, I think, is going to be an elite again. I think you can make the case that it's Georgia's most elite position room. Now, over the course of the last few years, that's been the running backs. That's been, I think, the linebackers in 2021, that defensive line in 2021. Stetson Bennett, right? I mean, that created an elite. He was an elite college quarterback, right? Or at least, yeah, he was. I'm not hesitating with that anymore. He was an elite college quarterback in that last year, and Georgia's offense was elite. But I think the offensive line for Georgia is this is a good offensive line. Joe Moore Award finalist the last couple of years, should have been a finalist for it as well in the 2021 season that Georgia won the national championship. And I remember Cedric Van Pran after the 21 season talk about how they felt slighted that they weren't even finalists, that Michigan, one of their counterparts, and a team that they had just beaten in the college football playoff that year, they felt slighted that they weren't part of that award, or at least given the chance to win it. 2022, finalist, doesn't win. 2023, same exact thing happens to the offensive line. Georgia keeps losing really good offensive linemen to the NFL. It happened with Jamari Salyer, Justin Schaefer, and then you lose Broderick Jones at left tackle. What does Georgia do? It becomes a Joe Moore Award finalist yet again. Well, now in 2024, Georgia's losing two guys to the NFL. Amarius Mims, a tackle that is a probable first-round pick at this point in time during the NFL draft process. If not, he'll be a second-rounder. Mims, freaking nature, 6'7", 340-ish pounds, can run almost 20 miles per hour. He is a prototypical left tackle, and that is part of why he's getting drafted so highly. And I have another point to make about Amarius Mims, but real quick, what else is Georgia losing? Cedric Van Pran, stability at center, physicality at center, leadership at center, 44 career starts at center. Losing Cedric Van Pran, I think, is a pretty big deal. It is my biggest counter argument against Georgia having an elite offensive line and the best offensive line in the country in 2024. Losing Cedric Van Pran is my gripe with that statement that I'm essentially making here for you guys. Ryan Kelly from Dawg Post talking about Georgia's offensive line. And like I said earlier, we're doing these position previews. That's why I'm talking about the offensive line. Make sure you're checking out the newsletter that I've got in the description down below. Shout out to Vincent. Ran into him in Athens today, and he told me he's been signed up for the newsletter. And so Vincent's a 5-star Georgia fan. I hope you're seeing this. I don't really give shout-outs very often. Make sure you're clicking that link down below, and you get those stories pushed out to you, right? You don't have to go looking for it all the time. We're giving them to you in your inbox every day. All you got to do is give us your email address, and you'll be on our mailing list, and you won't have to miss out on the stuff that Matt writes about recruiting and what Dean's writing and what we're hearing, what I'm writing as far as team practice goes and my practice observations, all that. Newsletter, it's linked. Dogpost.com. Meant to get through that a little bit quicker, but thank you for bearing with me. We got to do it. Just scrub through if you've already heard the message. I think between Cedric Van Pran and Amarius Mims, you're losing a lot. What do you return? What do you return? I thought I had the depth chart pulled up. That's okay. I'll get it pulled up in a second. Ernest Green. Here's the probable starters. What's going to come up left? I'm looking at, I think it's reverse. Okay, here we go. Yeah, it is reverse because I get the camera on. You're going to have Ernest Green. I think you'll have Dylan Fairchild at left guard. I think it'll be Jared Wilson. It's going to be year 4 for Jared Wilson in Athens. Has been in a reserve role, a guy that could also play the guard position. He's clearly been the second guy under center behind Cedric Van Pran. I think he is a shoo-in to win that job. That's kind of bad to say, but in the spring, if something changes, I'll be the first to tell you guys, hey, look, Georgia's experimenting with this at offensive line. This is what I saw at practice. This is what I saw at these scrimmages. Here's what's happening. I'm going to be giving you guys those updates during spring football, but I don't think that anyone really gets a real... Like, if you look at the fake online depth charts, not official depth charts, they've got, like, Drew Bobo in there as center, too. I don't really think Drew Bobo is competing too much with Jared Wilson. It seems like they've been grooming him for that center spot. So that's what you got there in the middle. At right guard, I think it'll be Tate Ratledge. That's where he's been. All-American honors, All-SEC honors. He's probably going to get it again. A guy that will go high in the NFL draft for his position in the future. A guy that could have come out. Xavier Truss, right tackle, I think is where he'll end up. I do think that he's probably a little bit better as a guard. Taller guy, but he's throughout his career, Xavier Truss. And this is another older guy. I think this is year 5 or 6 for Xavier Truss. It'll be year 5 for Tate Ratledge. 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. It'll be year 5 for Tate Ratledge, which means I believe this is year 6 for Xavier Truss. So older offensive line, they've got some older guys in that room. I think it's important that you return that. I think it's extremely important that you return players like that. Not a lot of offensive lines are going to have the returning production that Georgia has. And here's what rounds me out into my next point about it, going back to what I teased a second ago, that I was going to make a point relating to Amarius Mims. Amarius Mims was really good. I think he definitely was the best tackle that Georgia had this past season. Here's the problem. He played 3 years at Georgia. Freshman year, right, he's on the bench. He's not a starter, whatever. That happens for most players. Sophomore year, doesn't crack the starting lineup either, and he ends up being the backup right tackle for longtime Georgia Bulldog Warren McClendon. Well, Warren McClendon gets hurt towards the end of the year. Amarius Mims plays in the SEC Championship, and Amarius Mims starts in both the Peach Bowl win over Ohio State and the National Championship win over TCU. So Mims gets that experience. He earns a starting job. He starts a couple games, and then he sprains his ankle against South Carolina in week 3 of the season, needs tightrope surgery, misses a lot of time, and all of a sudden, Amarius Mims' Georgia career is over in 3 seasons, only starting 8 games. So, yes, they're losing Amarius Mims, but we just saw Georgia's offensive line for the last 3 years be really good without Amarius Mims. And I hate to say this, but everybody's replaceable. Everybody's replaceable, and that goes for Brock Bowers as well. Also, if you've made it this far in the video, I'm not talking to you, but I want to get this out real quick, and I'll say it earlier in maybe my next video. It's obvious to me, if you didn't watch the video and you commented something that clearly was addressed in the video. I just want to let you know, if you're not watching the video to the end and you comment something, I can tell. I can tell if you watch the video or not, or if you're just looking at the headline and saying something. Something I wanted to get off my chest. I might say something else. But so many negative comments recently, and I get that it's the off season. Let's spread a little bit more positivity. And I'm really not the most positive person. I'm not. And, I try to be not. I've met a lot of you guys in public, and maybe I seem like I'm really positive. I'm not always positive. There is a different side to me. But let's spread some more positivity. The last thing I wanted to say about Georgia's offensive line being really elite is the depth of it. I named those 5 players as the probable starters. I didn't name Micah Morris, who is going viral on social media the last couple days for lifting a bunch of weight that other people just can't do. And Micah Morris looked like a beast out there when he got time at guard. Georgia's got depth. They're going to do what they've been doing the last few years, which is rotating at the position, getting young guys in. Expect Monroe Freeling to get in there during the second quarter at tackle. Expect Micah Morris to get in there. If he doesn't win the job outright, or if either of these guys don't win the job outright, expect them to get in the game. Georgia's got depth at this position. I mentioned Drew Bobo. I mentioned Monroe Freeling. There's more. And my last point that I've teetered around, they signed a bunch of giants in the 2024 class. Let me read this to you. Michael Unini, 4-star. I hope I'm pronouncing these right. You guys are baby dogs. 6'7", 335, Michael Unini. Daniel Calhoun, 6'6", 365. Marquise Easley. Ah, man, I'm messing these names up. 6'5", 335. Nair Daniels, 6'7", 391. Kirby will not let you play at that weight. They will be whipping him into better shape. Malachi Tolliver, 6'5.5", 320. They've got the future loaded, and I think that they're going to compete to be the best offensive line in the country again. Thank you for watching. Link is down below.